plague, the Great Pestilence, the cause of death of almost a third of the people in Europe alone. It brought terror to anyone who even heard the name. Even touching the dead bodies meant certain death. But what exactly was it? And why was it so deadly? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. This is the Black Death. To start off, the Black Death, also known as the plague, was and is caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, and is transmitted by fleas, rodents, dogs, and other infected animals, according to the Centers for Disease Control. The plague was brought to Europe via infected rats on trading ships from Asia and the Middle East in the mid-1300s. Once there, it spread to almost every part of Europe, sweeping destruction in its path indiscriminately. The Black Death was extremely contagious, and, as one poet notes, the mere touching of the clothes appeared to itself to communicate the malady to the toucher, according to History.com. This played a big part in the death of nearly 20 million people in Europe. Another reason why the plague was so deadly was because no one knew how to stop it. Since they didn't have the same medical knowledge that we have now, they tried methods like bloodletting and superstitious practices, which did not work or help to stop the spread of the Black Death. Interesting fact about this plague is that the common nursery rhyme, Ring Around the Rosies, was probably written about the Black Plague. The phrase, ring around the rosy, refers to a circular rash that victims would get. A pocket full of posies refers to ways people then thought would ward off the disease. And the phrase, ashes, ashes, we all fall down, refers to the massive amount of death the plague brought on. The rash was one of the many different symptoms victims would get, along with fever, headache, chills, weaknesses, vomiting, diarrhea, and one or more swollen, painful lymph nodes called buboes, which would bleed, and eventually, death. Another fact about the Black Death is that it is believed to have been the cause of death for William Shakespeare's son, though this is not entirely confirmed. While his death wasn't part of a major outbreak, there were several major outbreaks of the plague after the one in the 1300s. One of them was the Great Plague of 1665 to 1666. This was the largest outbreak of the plague since the Black Death of the 14th century in London. It was estimated that London lost roughly 15% of its population, according to the National Archives. Another fact about the plague is that it is spread by infected fleas, which bite and infect rats. The plague is very contagious and versatile, since it can be spread by many different ways, such as flea bites, through the air, and through contact with dead bodies previously infected by the plague. One reason why the plague was so contagious back then is because they had poor sanitation and hygiene. Because the plague was spread by infected rats and fleas, it was easy for people to get infected back then because they would just put trash in the streets, and rats would gather there out in the open because of the trash to scavenge for food, so people would easily contract it there. They also didn't have as good a knowledge of the medical field back then as well.